Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, let me tell you, I was just looking through the latest updates and whispers floating around our beloved General Hospital, and you could have knocked me over with a feather when I saw what might be coming our way. Word on the street is that a major mysterious character is gearing up for a shocking return to the soap opera. And folks, the rumor mill is spinning completely out of control with whispers that it might just be Morgan Corinthos, played by the incredibly talented Brian Craig. I have been watching this show for more years than I can count, and I have seen my fair share of surprises, but if Morgan actually comes back to Port Charles, it is going to be the absolute mother of all bombshells. I can already feel my heart racing just thinking about the sheer drama and deep emotion this would bring to our screens. Now, I want us to take a little walk down memory lane together, even though it is a deeply painful one for all of us who love this family. Do you all remember that terrible, heart-wrenching day when we lost Morgan? My goodness, I remember sitting right here in my living room, clutching a tissue, just weeping for Sonny and Carly. It was an absolute tragedy of the highest order. Morgan was just a troubled young man caught in the wrong place at the absolute worst possible time. He had taken Julian Jerome's car, completely unaware of the pure evil that was waiting inside. He had no idea that Julian's own sister, the wicked and vengeful Olivia Jerome, had planted a deadly bomb inside that vehicle. When that car exploded, it felt like a piece of our own families had been blown away in the fire. The sheer devastation that swept through Port Charles was palpable, and it left a dark cloud over the town for a very long time. It was one of those moments in television that just sticks with you, a moment that breaks your heart into a million little pieces. And what makes it even more tragic, what really tugs at the heartstrings of any parent watching, is the terrible fact that they never actually found his body. Bless their hearts, Sonny and Carly had to endure a funeral where they buried a mere piece of his clothing. Just a scorched scrap of fabric that was found at the horrific scene. That was all that was left of their beautiful boy. As a father myself, I cannot even begin to fathom the bottomless pit of grief that comes from not being able to properly lay your child to rest. It is a nightmare that no parent should ever have to wake up to. A mother's intuition is a very powerful thing, and I have always believed that deep down, Carly never fully accepted that her baby boy was gone forever. Without a body, without that final undeniable proof, there is always that tiny, agonizing sliver of hope, isn't there? Over the years, we have certainly seen Morgan pop up now and then. He has appeared as a ghost, a vision, a figment of his loved ones' imaginations during their darkest, most desperate hours. Those moments were always so touching, so beautifully done, offering a little bit of comfort to Sonny and Carly when they needed it most. But an apparition is one thing. A living, breathing young man walking through the front door of the Corinthos home is quite another. The big question we are all chewing on right now is whether this time it is actually him in the flesh. Is our boy finally coming home after all these years of sorrow? If you are sitting there thinking, well, how on earth could he have survived that massive explosion? I just have to remind you of the golden rule of Port Charles. Nobody is ever truly gone unless you see them in a casket. And even then, you might want to check for a pulse. Just look at the long, crazy history of this town. Coming back from the dead is practically a local pastime around here. Think about the terrifying Ryan Chamberlain, played so brilliantly by John Lindstrom. That man holds the absolute record for miraculous returns. He was presumed dead for 25 whole years. 25 years, folks. We eventually learned that Ryan was scooped up and saved by the DVX, that shadowy international intelligence agency that always seems to have its fingers in every dark pie in the world. They patched him up, saved his life, and turned him into one of their deadly assassins for years. He completely lost his mind in the process, and it wasn't until his kind-hearted brother, Kevin Collins, tried to help him regain his memories that the whole ugly truth came spilling out. And boy, didn't Kevin live to regret that dangerous decision. If the DVX can put a monster like Ryan Chamberlain back together and hide him away for a quarter of a century, who is to say they couldn't do the exact same thing with a strong young man like Morgan Corinthos? And Ryan certainly isn't the only one who has pulled off a miraculous resurrection. Look at our dear departed Britt Westbourne, or the legendary enforcer Jason Morgan, and of course, the brave Drew Kane. In the cases of Britt, Jason, and Drew, their deaths were all faked. Now, they didn't do it on purpose to hurt their families, bless them. They were manipulated, kidnapped, and controlled by some very dangerous, very powerful people. They were innocent pawns in a much larger, sinister game of chess. It just goes to show that in this dangerous world of spies and mobsters, what you see on the surface is rarely the whole truth. Let's talk specifically about Drew Kane for a moment, because his tragic story might hold the absolute key to Morgan's fate. Nobody could find a single trace of Drew after he went over to Afghanistan. We all mourned him, thinking he was a noble casualty of war. But the reality was that his death was completely staged from the beginning. He was actually kidnapped by the ruthless Victor Cassadine. Now, if Victor could orchestrate such a massive deception with Drew taking him off the board completely and fooling the entire world, it makes you wonder who might have been lurking in the shadows the night Morgan's car went up in flames. This is where my mind really starts racing, folks, because the brilliant writers of this show have laid out some tiny breadcrumbs that lead straight to a very dangerous man named Ross Cullum. We all know Cullum was a deeply entrenched, highly dangerous DVX agent. Writing Morgan's return into the current storyline would actually be as smooth as butter if they link it back to Cullum. Imagine this scenario. Just like the DVX found Ryan Chamberlain, what if Cullum or his associates found Morgan after the blast? What if they pulled his broken body from the wreckage, realized exactly who his powerful father was, and saw the ultimate opportunity to mold him into a foreign operative? You see, Cullum had a massive, unforgiving bone to pick with Sonny Corinthos. This wasn't just business for him, it was deeply, violently personal. We are talking about the exact same man who was implicated in the terrifying bombing of Sonny's penthouse. That explosion was so severe, it nearly cost young Michael Corinthos his life. And let's not forget Cullum's bold plot to assassinate Sonny all the way out in California. The man was completely obsessed with taking down the Corinthos empire. So wouldn't it be the ultimate twisted revenge to steal Sonny's own flesh and blood, brainwash him, and turn him into a weapon for the DVX? It makes perfect, terrifying sense to me. Now, I know what you might be thinking right about now. Cullum is dead and gone, so how could this still be happening today? Well, as we have seen time and time again in Port Charles, evil rarely dies with just one man. Even though Cullum is out of the picture, there are always rogue agents slithering around in the dark, more than willing to pick up exactly where their bosses left off. We saw the exact same thing happen with Victor Cassadine's leftover projects. They're always loyal, brainwashed soldiers willing to carry out a dead man's final orders. It is a very common trick in the spy world, keeping these secret projects alive long after the mastermind is in the ground. And just recently, the show dropped a massive clue that I think ties this all together perfectly in a neat little bow. We had that gripping episode where Jen Sidwell casually mentioned that he and Cullum had worked together for at least 10 years. 10 years! Do you realize how perfectly that timeline lines up with the exact time of Morgan's disappearance? It is way too much of a coincidence, and in Port Charles, there are absolutely no coincidences. I would bet my bottom dollar that Sidwell knows exactly what happened to Morgan, and he might even be the one holding his leash right at this very moment. But the rabbit hole goes even deeper, my friends. We are seeing this terrifying brainwashing and identity-stealing tactic happening right now on the show. Look at what the mysterious Z is doing with Cassius Faison. They are giving him a completely new identity, erasing who he used to be to serve their own twisted, evil needs. If they can do that to Cassius, they absolutely could have done it to Morgan all those years ago. My heart just aches thinking about what poor Morgan might have endured all these years in the dark. I tell you folks, the anticipation is just eating me alive. I am sitting on the edge of my seat waiting to see how this all unfolds in the coming weeks. If Brian Craig is truly returning to grace our screens once again, it is going to shake the Corinthos family to its very core and change the landscape of Port Charles forever. It is epic stories like this full of rich history, deep heart, and incredibly high stakes that make me love this show so much. We will just have to keep our eyes peeled and our boxes of tissues ready, because I have a strong feeling things are about to get incredibly emotional. Thank you all so much for letting me share my thoughts and feelings with you today. Take care of yourselves, hug your loved ones tight tonight, and I will see you all again very soon for more updates.